evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. I got seven here. That means I don't have to talk as much, and I get to save my voice. Got tons of other stuff to do this weekend. Anyway, I have the dream team, and thank God we don't have any echoes in this thing. Otherwise, it would go ahead and echo all the way from here to Iceland. Oh my God! And how good of a night it is when you got Ben Troop in the house. It can't be all that bad with that white hat. Welcome back, man.
Always good to be back with you guys, man. Miss you guys. I'm looking forward to having some fun.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to having some fun, and then some. When you keep coming back, it gets wilder with me. All right, well, and Marvin at the mic. My goodness, this guy is developing like a Jesus Christ superstar. We know who Marvin is, and now we know who somebody isn't. Whoever popped off, will pop back
Mel.
on later. All right, well, searching for Mel or a miracle. Here he is. All right, well, with that said, Mel is back in the house. Welcome back to Mr. Farr.
Now, Mel, go back to the green screen. Come on, man.
No, leave his bear alone, man. You leave his bear alone.
Look, Marvin, I didn't try to do that. I tried to log in, and that's how I got kicked out. My bad. I'm sorry. How's everybody doing today?
Oh, we're doing all right. All right, we have Candy Ebling in the house here. She'll provide us with a lot of stat guide. If she provides us too many more, we'll need 3 hours. But the agenda that I have cooking here. But all right, Candy, we're glad to have you back. Anyways, your favorite sport.
Great to be back with all you fine gentlemen.
We have the Shanahan man, the master of the Shanahan report.
Yeah, glad to be here. Let's go. Let's roll.
And we got Stephen Roychelle.
What is up, my friends? Let's have some fun. Let's get into some pigskin talk, college football, pro football, trade deadline, a lot of stuff to discuss.
The heir apparent to the motor mouth, when and if I ever shut the hell up. I don't know if I am. I don't even care. All right, well, let's start with something I forgot to mention last week, and that the Seattle Seahawks have won 8 straight against the Arizona Cardinals. You talk about a team that went out there and owns another one. The Seattle Seahawks definitely own the Arizona Cardinals. Nobody has to comment on it. I just want to make sure I got it out there for all of you football fans out there that know that, I'll tell you, the Seahawks are looking good and the Cardinals aren't looking well off in that rivalry as well. Just want to get that out there out and early. All right, well, tell you what, we're going to do something different tonight. We're going to talk about a bunch of stadiums. And instead of college firings, although there is one I'm going to get to in a little while, and I hate college firings, so let's have some fun with stadiums. 8 of the 10 biggest stadiums in the world are college football stadiums. The first one, though, and it's the biggest one of them all, is Grotto First of May Stadium in North Korea that houses 150,000 people. Then you have Narendra Modi Stadium in India, people, 132,000. And let's go back to the mainland. You got Michigan Stadium at 107,000. Beaver Stadium in Penn State, 106,572. Ohio Stadium, OSU, 102,780. Kyle Field, Texas A&M, 102,733. I like the 33, by the way. Texas State Tiger Stadium in LSU, 102,321. Neyland Stadium, Tennessee, 101,915. Bryant Denny Stadium in Alabama, 101,821. And Darrell K. Royal, Texas Memorial Stadium, 100,119. All right, we'll start with Stephen, okay? Quite a few stadiums. How do you like those apples for all these stadiums around the world and around? You don't have any NFL stadiums in that group, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State's in there, but I don't know the last time they've had over 100K in that stadium. So I mean, you did like we. Obviously, we love when our NFL teams get to pack out stadiums, but when you look at it, for the most part, it's like 60, 70,000 at the most that you see at some of those games. So when you see some of these stadiums eclipsing that 100K mark, that's probably more along the lines of what you see in our in our soccer stadiums, not our football stadiums. So it's when you get them, it's more than likely the college stadiums. I don't think I mean, we still have a few stadiums that are being rebuilt here in the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe we could see one of them hit that 100K mark, but I don't think so, because I think we're looking at Washington, Cleveland. Or looking to either refurbish or build stadiums. So I don't know if we're going to see an NFL stadium on that list anytime soon.
Tommy, what are your thoughts about that list, including the 2 ones? And then I have another thing that we're going to talk about to the athletes about what some of the college ones they played on. We're just going to get their opinions on these stadiums, and there will be a backup question to it. But that's quite a group when you look at the fact that you have the one in North Korea, which nobody not only knows if anybody will ever be allowed to see that one, and the one in India, Tommy.
Well, probably the only two that were built as 100,000 stadiums were Michigan and the LA Coliseum. The others are all additions they've added on to. In the NFL stadiums, the emphasis is on private booths, so that's going to take away from your seating. The one thing I'd say about the college stadiums at 100,000, and mentioning Michigan and the LA Coliseum, the great thing about the Coliseum was when it had a track. There's no longer a track there. I'm not sure how they're going to put a track back in there for the Olympics, but they would have 100,000 for a track meet. And they even had 96,000 when the Dodgers played in the World Series in 1959 before Dodger Stadium opened up. So the others are all added on as their state grew in population, their fan base grew. I've been to Penn State, not for a football game. I've been there in the winter. And I don't know how anybody goes there to a football game because unless that was about 20 years ago, the last time I was there, unless they've had some brand new freeways open up. I remember just being lots of 2-lane roads into State College. I can't imagine, though, the traffic mess it is to go to a game there. That's got to be a 12-hour day.
So we'll have more talk about the Penn State Stadium later. Glad you brought that up. All right, Candace.
Big stadiums are great as long as you can fill them. Now, if the product on the field warrants it, then great. But if it doesn't, it looks like an empty stadium. I can tell you from covering games, especially down here, like we covered Jacksonville, and for years they put a tarp over the top tier of the seats because they weren't selling out. So a big stadium is only great if you keep drawing people. Now, Michigan, with the history, they've drawn. So, it warrants it. But some of these NFL, plus the ticket prices, the average family can't afford. You wouldn't have 150,000 people going to an NFL game because they can't afford it. And they can watch it at home in the luxury of their home. But I get it. It's cool. But I can see why more and more aren't doing it because they're not drawing enough fans to warrant the capacity.
Okay. Mel?
For NFL teams, it doesn't make sense to have for the owners. It doesn't make sense to have that type of capacity.
Right.
And I'm not one that really likes crowds and stuff like that. I mean, I think what is the Ford Field, about 65,000? I mean, they want to sell out. Yeah. That's what they want to do. They want to get the boxes, all the premium seating, and overcharge for that type of stuff. And as Tom was alluding to, I think the Rose Bowl, I think they can get to 100,000. But going to the Rose Bowl is just a pain. I mean, I don't even like going to UCLA games because you talk about two-way streets. I mean, it's all day long to go to a football game. And I'm not interested in tailgating and doing all the other kind of stuff. People spend the night that, it's a lot of people. Now, I've been to Neyland Stadium when UCLA played out there. It's a sight to see when you go in there and you see a whole bunch of folks out there dressed in orange. I mean, it is a sight to see when you're on the field and you look up in the stands and you see nothing but orange and white all over the place. It's a sight to see. And I think it's great for the kids. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing in front of large crowds. I think it's great for the players, but I don't know how people do it. I really don't. I don't know how people go to those types of games and spend all day long out there, especially somewhere like in Louisiana down there in Baton Rouge. My brother went to a UCLA game down in Death Valley. He said people were just passing out because it was so hot. Folks were passing out. They're pouring water on them, fanning folks. My mom was helping people. Because people were just passing out because of the heat. And you're sitting out there. There's no shade. There's nothing to block you from the sun. And folks were just passing out. So, I mean, and they're drinking and passing out. But, I mean, I guess that's a ritual. It's something people to get accustomed to. I couldn't do it. I love watching sporting events from the comfort of my home, to be perfectly honest with you. But a lot of people like to go to the games. I get it.
Well, Mel, to piggyback off your point, you're right. The Pontiac Silverdome held 80,000 people. The Lions went down to 65,000. And I love the Silverdome. That was my Sunday home anyways. I always love it and I always miss it. You know, of course, when you go to Silverdome, I had a chance to cover Barry Sanders in his prime. So it didn't hurt
Parking
matters.
wasn't a problem.
And parking wasn't a problem either. Where Ford Field it becomes a little bit more problematic, even though they built garages. But they went from what 80,000 down to 65,000. So well point, Mel. All right, Marvin.
Yeah, those big stadiums. I mean, if you're a fan of Tennessee and Penn State, and you're watching the game, I mean, you're excited because you see a full stadium. But Mel brings up UCLA. I remember when they beat the number 2 team in the nation, Penn State. They had like 27,000 people in the stands. And, half of the Rose Bowl was covered up. That's a horrible look. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think a lot of these schools play themselves when they really can't fill those stadiums up. And it looks bad. It's just a bad product. And I hate that. But on another note, you think about these huge stadiums, people gather once a week. It reminds you of church. It reminds you of people going to a religious gathering. You know what I'm saying? And what it tells you is how big sports are in culture, whether it's soccer or American football. And the reality is, people don't want to say this. I think sports and religion are like right there with a lot of people in their heart. They won't say that, but they love them Cowboys. They love, they love these teams as if it's, their biblical team to follow. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that. So, these huge stadiums are just a testament to how big sports are in our culture and these communities. And, it's when you can fill them up and you have a good team, a good program, it's a sight to see, but, when you can't fill them up and the program is struggling and they gotta cover up, 2/3 of the stadium, that's a horrible look.
And
yeah, I agree with Marvin. I think sometimes when you talk about college football, what makes it different is the fact that teams in the South got big stadiums because that's all you have to really brag on. Like you don't really do like in these. That some of these big stadiums they aren't in big cities, and that's by design. When you think about it, I mean, if I'm a fan of Tennessee, I mean Saturdays is all I got. When you talk about Auburn, that's all you got. And I think that Auburn, some of these cities only have these schools in them. If you're driving down 85 South, if you look down and look up, you pass the Auburn exit. It ain't like a UCLA and a USC to where you got sports teams there, like pro teams that are important. College football, and Marvin, you can tell Marvin been living in Atlanta for a minute. He's saying, okay, I'm starting to understand why college is so big. Because here's the thing. Team good or bad, they're going to show up. They're going to show up more. They're going to get blamed if they bad and you don't show up. And if they good, obviously they're going to sell out. So, yeah, I wouldn't know what it was like to be in a big city and trying to get – no one wants to deal with traffic. And if traffic is bad in the city with no sports, then you add a stadium. But I will say this. FedEx Field is about as close as you're going to get to a college football. It is huge. FedEx is huge. It's a huge stadium. Problem is in D.C. They got a lot going on in D.C. then you're trying to get to the game. So, yeah, college football is always going to be supreme. I did not know Michigan was that big. I definitely did not know Penn State was that big. I knew that Ohio State was that big, and I played in Tennessee and LSU. Never played at Texas A&M. Obviously, I played at Auburn and these type of places. But it's almost like saying I want my stadium to be bigger than yours, like a billionaire having a bigger yacht. And I stated because people will argue how many does yours hold? They ain't talking about wins and losses, especially talking to Alabama fans. You stay away from that. It's how big is your stadium? Yeah, so I like I said, most people know nothing about the club seats. They out there in the heat, and I went to Florida, and I appreciate what they did. I am not standing out in that heat for that long. And I appreciate my parents and stuff for doing it. But what they talking about people passing out, look, I'm not. That's why cold beer was invented. It was invented for two things: to watch baseball, because you got to deal with that length of it, and hot football games. How else are you gonna survive in that heat? So yeah, but like I said, college football is so big that they're gonna keep adding stuff to it. It might not be seats, but they're gonna keep adding stuff to it. There are people that have they got this company that they make like a coffee tables with the stadiums on the inside of it, like a glass. I'm not doing all that, but they do it. So yeah, I got to play in some of them, but yeah, I did not know the Coliseum was that big either. Like I know it was big, I didn't know it was that big. So Go figure.
Well, for guys like Tommy and I, we appreciate that thing called a press box. You know what happens up there? It's called mental labor. I'm telling you, it's tough work if you can get it. Mental labor. Candy looks at me all the time. Oh, what kind of angles are you working now? Mental labor, people. Take it to the bank. All right, well, the next question here with the athletes only. We're going to limit this one here because we're going to stay on the stadium theme a little bit. We're going to talk about the 10 bigger stadiums in college by capacity. Then I'm going to ask Mel, I'm going to ask Marvin and Ben which one of these that they played in, all right, as we keep the show rolling. So the top 10 bigger stadiums in college by capacity include Michigan Stadium, Beaver Stadium, Ohio Stadium, Kyle Field, Tiger Stadium in LSU, Neyland Stadium, Bryant-Denny Stadium, Darrell Royal Stadium, Stanford Stadium in Georgia, and the Rose Bowl where UCLA. All right, start off with you, Mel. How many of these have you played in?
I played in the Coliseum. I played in Neyland Stadium, and obviously I played in the Rose Bowl.
Okay. Which one of those did you find to be the most enjoyable and interesting?
Oh, I love playing at the Coliseum. I hated when UCLA decided, it was a couple of years before I went out there. They signed the agreement to go play in the Rose Bowl. And one of the reasons why I went to UCLA is because I wanted to play in the Coliseum. I mean, I just love watching UCLA and USC playing in the Coliseum, all the history with the Coliseum. I wanted to play in the Coliseum. So, I mean, I was bummed out when we moved to Pasadena. I really was. I loved playing in the Coliseum, and I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed watching that little band come down the stairs, and especially playing against SC, and you see all the greats, the legends over there, Marcus Allen, Charles White, Mike Garrett. I mean, you're going to see all the legends, Ronnie Lott over there on the sidelines, and that band coming down the stairs, walking into the Coliseum. I'm talking about your band, the Trojan Marching Band. I mean, there was nothing like it. I mean, I dreamed about that when I was a little kid. So, yeah, I truly enjoyed playing at the Coliseum, to be honest with you. Neyland Stadium was nice, but I don't like to play on, back then it was AstroTurf. Yeah, I went out west because I didn't want to play on AstroTurf. I wanted to play on natural grass. And so that's why, I enjoyed playing at the Coliseum.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, I'll tell you one thing. You mentioned a few good names there. Hey, Marvin, well, we know you made the Coliseum your home. Right. I listed 10 of them. How many of these did you play in?
Well, let me just the USC marching band is called the Spirit of Troy. That's their name. So yeah, we obviously I played in the Coliseum 4 years. Played in the Rose Bowl game where we won, and also played against UCLA in the Rose Bowl. We played Penn State, but we played them in Giant Stadium. And when I was in the Pac-10, we didn't play too many schools in the SEC or in the Big Ten, to be honest with you.
Is there anyone that you enjoyed the most?
The Coliseum, because my record in the Rose Bowl Stadium itself was 1-2. We lost to those people across town too many times when I was there. So yeah, without question, it's the Coliseum.
Yeah, football talk with Bo. Our partner's in there. AstroTurf must give you the word burns. I'm sure it did. Yeah, I can only imagine you land on it. All right, Ben.
Yeah, man, I never played at Alabama. Got the chance to play at Tennessee. Had the chance to play at LSU. Obviously playing at Florida. I never played at Georgia. We play in Jacksonville. Tennessee is a different type place because that's a lot of people. You're talking about 100,000 people, and they'll howl at you. They'll do these things like it's hard to really manufacture how much they be coming at you. 100,000 people, and like Mel said, when with that creamsicle orange on and that white, and they got the checkerboard. It's crazy, but I will say this, and I am biased. Yes, when it comes to Florida, there are not many places like LSU. It is hard to describe that type of atmosphere, and I've been there at night and during the day. That student section is crazy. And I know Death Valley is also at Clemson. Never played at Clemson. But LSU is different, man. It is different. When you're talking about when they're playing well, and like I said, I know the Saints are the pro team in Louisiana. LSU run that state, though. It is LSU. So LSU state, like I said, I never played, at Michigan and Ohio State, those type places. But Tennessee, it's rare. It does, but LSU was crazy. And Would I have liked to have played at Georgia? Yeah. I mean, that would have been from Georgia and playing in between the hedges. That would have been something to see. But yeah, LSU and Tennessee. Them the two I played at. I heard about Kyle Field. Obviously I heard about Alabama, those type of places. But yeah, Tennessee and LSU.
As far as I'm concerned, bucket list, I need to get over to the LA Coliseum for sure. I've seen a game over at the Big House. Got to get to the Coliseum. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And God willing, if I could get out there for the Olympics or do something before then, I think they got flag football, if I understand, out there. I'm going to get out there by hook or by crook. If they got to put me in a wheelchair, so be it. Candy will wheel me through it. But I'm going to get there. So, and as far as the Big House is just an unbelievable place, even though it's not on the list. Wisconsin Stadium, what is it, Camp Randall? I don't think it's as big as these other ones, but boy, if you haven't been through that jump around, my God, that's an earthquake waiting to happen in the Midwest, I swear. And when the elevators are not working, that's bad news. And then you got to go down 8 or 10 rows there. I never got a bigger workout for that. I'll tell you, I was out of breath after that. But great stuff. A lot more to get to here.
Scott, I just want to quick say Camp Randall seating capacity is 80,321. For those of you that I was a fan, I have been inside 2 of those big stadiums. I have been at Ohio State and I've been to the Big House. So as a fan, I was at both of those. And the one nice thing about those 2 is that they're not down in the South. They play football in the fall, so it wasn't like hot. They were both very, very, very good. I would say because we were actually at the Metrodome to see when the Minnesota played there. That was an awful place to watch a game, but Ohio State and Michigan were both good.
Right,
and then
well,
of course,
Tommy and Steve, you want to add anything to this?
Well, I was going to say, just part of the problem with the heat in those southern stadiums is football used to start in mid-September. So the seasons have grown, and then the stadiums have grown. Denny Stadium, when it was just Denny Stadium, they only had about 55,000 seats, and that's why they would often play at Legion Field in Birmingham, because it had 72,000 seats. But Alabama now, it's Bryant-Denny Stadium, and they've essentially doubled the size of the stadium, and that's true of just about all those southern stadiums. They were very small, and then they've just added and added and added.
Steve, anything you want to add, or are you good?
No, let's move on, brother.
All right, so let me just point out one other thing, then we're going to get to another interesting topic, and that's this. Doak Campbell Stadium is obviously being renovated, so the capacity has been reduced there, had more and more amenities, and Florida now is also going to be renovated as well. So we'll stay on that theme. Actually, let's go ahead and stay on the Penn State theme. The Penn State is doing a 3-year, $700 million renovation that will be done on time for the 2027 football season. God only knows who their coach is going to be, but they're going to be putting some work into that stadium anyway. Anybody want to go out there? I'm not calling on anybody. Have any thoughts about the Penn State renovation? $700 million to get that stadium so wherever they want it.
Again, it's a testament to how big sports are in our culture. I mean, just think, how many projects are there in the state of Pennsylvania where they're spending $700 million on anything? You know what I'm saying? So, when you look at this economic climate and you look at what's going on, the sports business is booming. You know what I mean? And people are loyal. Those alumni they pay that money to that school. The fans show up. I mean, again, football is religion and it is big business. It's the biggest business on campus. Without question, the biggest business on campus, and the most important people on that campus are the students. And that school is going to do whatever it can to retain top athletes, bring in the students to give them a great college experience or a great stadium experience. And it's just a sign of the times. It shows us what's really going on and where the priorities are. And I love it.
Anybody else want to add to this?
$700 million. Not too long ago, you could build an entire stadium for that. I would imagine most of that $700 million is going for more luxury booths and premium seating for donors. But also the other thing you see at these old college stadiums, I know they've been doing this at Michigan State, is they're expanding the the areas where the concession stands are and the restrooms,
Right.
just making it a more convenient place to go to a game. Because as you know, Mel has mentioned this, I don't like to go to games anymore. It's too much of a hassle to fight all the crowds. I'd prefer to stay home and watch on TV. About the only game I'll go to is a Michigan State game at Spartan Stadium, but I don't live in Michigan anymore, so that means I rarely go to a game.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, we'll move on.
Wait,
Yeah, let's
Scott,
see.
I just want to add the enormous project will completely transform Beaver Stadium's west side to include club seating, suites, a new media facility, and more than 600 square feet of space for fans and operations.
Yeah, I had a feeling they do some with the new media areas. I've seen the stadiums in the Orlando area where they've gone ahead and done things with the media facilities. Good point for bringing that up. So here, get this. Let's talk about the NFL players who could retire after 2025. Okay, this is a pretty interesting list. We got Aaron Rodgers, who's 41 years of age. You got Kirk Cousins, 37. Travis Kelce, 35. Joe Flacco, who's 40. Keenan Allen, who's 34 of the Chargers. Darius Slay of Pittsburgh is 34. Von Miller is 36 of the Commanders. Matthew Stafford, 37 of the Rams. Elias Campbell, 37 of the Commanders, and Josh Johnson, 39 of the Commanders. I'll go around the horn, and I'll start with Steven. Which one of these players, you can list a couple of them if you want to, or will most likely retire at the end of 2025?
Well, we already know, you mentioned Darius Slay. He basically said this was his retirement tour when he signed with Pittsburgh. He was either going to spend 1 year here or wherever he was. I thought he was going to go back to Detroit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too.
But that didn't happen. Then I thought maybe he'd go back to his hometown. That didn't happen. Von Miller, I might agree with that. I think we might get one more year of Matthew Stafford. I think he's one of them that probably won't. Aaron Rodgers, we already know it's the retirement tour. So knowing that I could add to that that I think could potentially be on there. Von Miller, I think that a good idea that he might hang it up. We haven't really heard or seen much of him this season either way. Yeah, I don't know who else you could potentially add to that, but it should be an interesting class, that's for sure.
All right, Tommy, who do you think is likely going to retire out of this list?
Well, I think Travis Kelce only came back, might not have come back if they'd have won the Super Bowl. So, and the Chiefs aren't what they were for most of his career, so I would be surprised if he came back.
So you're saying, do you think he'll retire?
Yeah, he's getting married to a pop star.
He's getting married to the biggest pop star in North America, or probably the world at this point in time. He has no reason to continue. I totally agree with Tom.
Hey, Candy?
I think it depends on how far Kansas City goes this year.
Not in the playoffs right now.
I understand, but I mean, I think for sure Aaron Rodgers is gonna, he's gonna retire. As far as some of the other ones that, I think this might be Flacco's last year. I don't think he's, gonna go out. Calais Campbell, I think he's done
39, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the couple that I'll say, and I'll keep it short so everybody else can.
What about you, Mel?
Yeah, I think Travis Kelce probably hangs him up. Calais Campbell probably. It's a tough game for those type of players, what you have to do in the offseason as far as getting your body ready to be prepared to play, for a season. Quarterbacks is a little bit different. They just, they might work out with some bands and stuff like that. And unless you're Tom Brady and you're running on the sand on the beach, trying to work on your foot speed. But for the most part, those guys are just worried about their arm, looking at film. Practice isn't too taxing. The training camps aren't too taxing. Games aren't too taxing. But somebody like Travis Kelce, where he's got other things going on now, with him and his brother doing their podcast, and he has other interests, he's doing a little acting and whatnot. I could see him hanging him up after the end of the year, regardless of whether, how well, or how far they advance, just because it's tough, and every year there's no guarantee. you may be the favorite, but it doesn't mean that you're going to end up being the last one standing, because a lot of things just have to go right. It's tough to win football games in the NFL, and they've been playing at a very, very high level for a very, very long period of time, and they'll probably continue to do it as long as they have Patrick Mahomes there and he's upright and he's healthy. But I think he's got other things that he wants to do. Like you guys mentioned, he is getting married, and that changes things. But I think out of all those guys, I think Travis Kelce, obviously Calais Campbell, because he's getting a little long in the tooth as well. Kirk Cousins, he's a young fellow. He said he's only 37. He's young. He's still got 4 or 5 good years left. So I don't see him retiring anytime soon.
Marvin?
Yeah, with these quarterbacks, I think with Flacco and Cousins, I mean, these are two former Pro Bowl quarterbacks. They've been successful on the field. They've been successful financially. And, for the quarterback, really any position, the more you play, the game slows down, And for a quarterback, what it comes down to is, can they hold up physically, number one, because what Mel was saying is real. I mean, it's, these young guys, have to have the discipline to get in there and stay in shape. But these older guys, it's tougher, man. It's tougher to get out of bed. When you got money in the bank, your body's sore, and you got to be a real professional to do that and want to do that. Okay, if Flacco and Cousins don't go in a situation where they're starters, I don't see them coming back. I don't think Kirk Cousins wants to go out of backup. It wasn't his plan to back up this kid in Atlanta when he signed that big contract and moved to Atlanta, where his wife is from and all her family. He thought this was going to be, the way he went out as a starter, maybe a couple playoff runs, whatever it may be. And with Flacco, for him to get traded mid-season, that's tough on the family. I don't know if his family was with him in Cleveland, but, he has young kids. And, I think at his age, you want some kind of stability. That's what I would think. So if they're not going into these situations as starters next year or as bridge quarterbacks where, a team may, let them start initially but draft another kid, I don't see Flacco or Cousins coming back. I don't see them going into any season wanting to be somebody's backup.
Great stuff, Marvin. Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree everything about these quarterbacks. I mean, Kirk Cousins, he don't got to retire. He just got to get the hell away from Atlanta. He don't got to retire. He just got to go. Okay, you don't got to leave. You got to get away from Atlanta. And I think that the thing about the quarterback is these older guys understand how to stay around because they understand the game. They're not who they used to be, but they understand. You see why Joe Flacco is still there and Kirk Cousins is still there. And Matthew Stafford, because they understand what the team needs and what the game calls them to do. A guy that I think is going to retire is going to be Keenan Allen, because he's gonna be the all-time leader in catches and yards, which is crazy to say for the Chargers. Now, he's not going to catch Antonio Gates for the touchdowns, but when you look at him getting drafted in 2013, coming out of Cal, not the biggest, the fastest, strongest guy, to have, I think he's at like 955 50. I think he's like one catch right now behind Antonio Gates. What else can you do to say I walked away the all-time leader in catches and yards? So I can see him leaving. Von Miller, I think he's at the end, because Von Miller doesn't want to be hanging on because he can still rush the passer and they could bring him in on third down. Calais Campbell, to me, is probably one of the more impressive players that no one. He has over 100 career sacks, and he's done it at every team he's been on, from the Ravens to Arizona to the Falcons, to the Dolphins, now back with Arizona. But Aaron Rodgers is probably definitely going to hang it up for this reason. Aaron Rodgers, I think for the first time in his career, talked about retiring. He said before they played Green Bay, he said, whenever I retire, it's going to be a Green Bay Packer. So I think this is going to be it for him, because at a certain point, you've done it all. Like, what else can you do? And Travis Kelce is definitely going to walk away. Yes, Taylor Swift makes it easy to walk away, but I don't want to be known for a player that aged out. I want to walk away still able to play, and he can still play. But the fact that these guys, been around as long as they've been around. You saw talking about late 30s, early 40s,
right?
And you still getting NFL checks and you starting, contributing. Yeah, I know we're gonna get to Mercedes Lewis a little bit later, but I'm just super duper proud of a lot of these guys, because no one saw a lot of Aaron Rodgers. I get it. No one saw Joe Flacco doing this. Kirk Cousins has played much longer than RG3 has, and they was in the same draft class. So, hey, it's impressive what they're doing. But like I said, Kirk Cousins made $90 million in 2024. $90 million. So all I'm saying is, it's two things you want to teach your kid how to do: throw a baseball or throw a football. They can make a lot of money doing both. I'm just telling you.
All right, so here's where I stand with this. At one point or another, I thought Rodgers was a lock to retire this year. But gosh, I don't know why I feel this way. If he's having a good time with Pittsburgh and he likes Mike Tomlin, they might get another year out of him. I just have a weird feeling about this. I don't know why. He's having fun. There's no drama. And if he decides he don't mind mentoring another quarterback, and hey, what's a few more numbers to my totals there, I could see another year out of him. I don't know why. Kirk Cousins is a great businessman. He'll find another place to get another guaranteed bit of cabbage, that's for sure. Kels is a lock to go. He is. Like you said, Taylor Swift, no problem. It's time for him to go ahead and say, one more year, do what I want to do, and that's that. Joe Flacco, a little bit of wear and tear on him this year. I don't think he's playing this weekend either. But Joe Flacco has certainly had a good career, nothing to feel bad about, won a Super Bowl. Keenan Allen, I could see where you're coming from. Ben, that he could be near the end of the line. Darius Slay, I think he's done. I think he'll retire. Von Miller, the same thing. Matthew Stafford, maybe another year out of him. Calais Campbell, I think he could be probably at the end of the line. And Josh Johnson, it's hard to tell. I want to go back to the athletes for something I forgot to ask, okay, about the other college stadiums. We talked about the one you played in. But give me one or two that you would have liked to have played in your career. And we'll go back to you, Mel, because I was just thinking about this. Which ones? Because there's some pretty impressive ones on that list. I'm not going to read them off again. Mel, give me one or two that you would have liked to have played in.
I would have liked to have played in the big house.
Okay.
You know, I've gone and watched games there before. It's kind of a unique kind of a stadium, but I think that's a stadium that I would have liked to play in. I never really, dreamed of playing in any stadiums in the South, to be honest with you. Okay. But like I said, I mean, my dream was always to play in the Coliseum. But if I had another, I played in the Rose Bowl, but if I had a stadium that a dream stadium to play in, probably because it's from my home state too. Right. Okay. Being from Michigan would have been nice to play and to play the University of Michigan. We had an opportunity. We could have played Michigan State, but that school from across town ended up beating us, and we ended up not going to the Rose Bowl. Had to go consolation prize at 10-2, playing the Aloha Bowl or something like that on Christmas Day. So they spoiled that for us, but that would have been nice to play at U of M Stadium.
What about you, Marvin?
Scott, I'll be honest, man. I've been down with these Trojans since like third grade, so it was always my passion to play at USC and play the schools in their schedule. So playing at Notre Dame twice was kind of a big deal to me. To a football nerd like me, I had tremendous respect for their program. Okay. Definitely playing in the Rose Bowl against UCLA was a big deal to me. I'd probably have to say Michigan, just because of who they are in college football. Michigan, maybe Ohio State. There are a few stadiums, but probably those two.
Okay, that's good. I like those. And you, Ben, you're the last. You get the last word on this.
I mean, I would have loved to have played at the Horseshoe. I mean, Ohio State. You hear about it so much growing up. You hear about, so many guys have come out of there. I mean, I almost got a chance to play with Eddie George when I first got drafted, but that's when he went to the Cowboys. And I mean, the thing about the Coliseum is this. What's crazy is this, right? I was blessed enough to be able to go to the rookie premiere when I got drafted, and we got to take pictures in the Coliseum. And it's hard to describe the Coliseum when you're from the South, because in the South we think football is king, which it is, but the bus driver, obviously he's, he loves SC. He loves, UCLA. He loves those teams. He was giving us like a history lesson on the Coliseum. He was like, listen, I hope you guys know we had. I know y'all went to LSU and Florida. You go on to the Coliseum. He kept saying, before we got off the bus, what I remember the most, he says, be respectful. Like, he kept saying that to us. Like, what do you think we're going to do? So for me, I would have loved to play in the Coliseum just so, when you talk to them SC guys and them UCLA guys, man, because let me tell y'all something. Anybody that's played in the Coliseum talk trash to you. You go to the league, they'll say, yeah, y'all they do your stadiums like this. Yeah. But the Coliseum is different, so I would have loved to have played in the Coliseum. Like I said, growing up, just hearing about it, talking to guys like Reggie Bush, and I played with Lindell White. And every time we got to talking about stadiums, this and stadiums, that he'll just go, yeah, that's cute. He called them cute. The Coliseum, he said, have Snoop ever been to your game? I'm like, no. Have Dre? I'm like, no. Well, they on our sideline. So, I would have loved to play in the Coliseum, win or lose, man. Obviously. So, yeah, I would have loved to have played out there.
Okay. Well, you know what, man? You tipped your hand about Mercedes Lewis. We're going to go to it now. How's that sound? Okay, Mercedes Lewis becomes the oldest tight end in NFL as his Denver Broncos ended up defeating Houston 18-15. Meanwhile, his former team, Green Bay, lost Tucker Kraft to a season-ending ACL injury. I'm telling you something. Mercedes Lewis is quite a story, isn't he, Ben? When you think about the durability this guy is, I got to see him play when he was at Jacksonville, and for that matter, Calais Campbell, I think, played for Jacksonville as well. But what are your thoughts about Mercedes Lewis? This guy's unbelievable, and I know Green Bay wishes they had him now, but and I know Tucker Kraft's a great prospect, and one of these days they'll be all right. I just want to mention that. We're not going to talk about him anymore outside of that, unless Candy mentioned something about him. But Mercedes Lewis is a real topic here, Ben.
He is. Mercedes, he gives a lot of credit to Fred Taylor when he first got. I remember Mercedes Lewis got drafted, way back in 2006. Him and Maurice Jones-Drew, two UCLA guys, man, coming all the way over here to Jacksonville. And what's most impressive about Mercedes Lewis is he is the quarterback of tight ends. I mean that in the most respectful way because he's found a way to make himself an asset without having to catch the football. Do you know how hard that is to do? Like, he started in a league that wasn't throwing the ball to the tight end, not in Jacksonville the way they're doing now. Till he said, "Okay, what can I do as I get older?" And excuse me, Fred Taylor, his former teammate, said, "Dude, learn how to block in a way that it makes it look like you're affecting the game, catching the football." And he has. And like I said, most people want to have a 10-year career. Mercedes Lewis. I mean, and I mean this. He is like LeBron James in football. Not from production, but the fact that Mercedes. Can you come help us? Can you come help us? Can you come help us? When he played for Chicago, and he played for Green Bay, and now so I'm proud of him. I really, really am. When he came out, I didn't see him becoming that. I know he had a Pro Bowl one year with Jacksonville, but sustainability is the hardest thing to do. It really, really is. And he's found a way to do it in a way that these GMs and these offensive coordinators and these tight end coaches and these head coaches, because, Mel, and Marvin know, once you get past a certain age, they bring you there for two things. But what you could bring to the position group you do and what you could bring to the culture of that team. That's why you're there. So for Mercedes, I'm happy for him. Like I said, Mercedes is one of those type guys because we were both in the AFC South. I never took the time to reach out to him at the games. I'm not saying he was going to have this, but I'm happy that you got tight end you. So the fact that they got tight end you now in Nashville, that's football royalty. It really, really is. So when he walks in the room, no, he ain't got the stats of Tony Gonzalez. No, he ain't got the touchdowns of Antonio Gates. No, he don't got the production of Gronk and Travis Kelce. But he going to outplay them all. And to say a career is what, 20 years in anything? 20 years in the NFL and you don't kick and you don't throw the football? Stop playing, man. Shout out to Mercedes Lewis. I'm going to brag on him. What I tell a couple of people, so now the new thing is they being Mercedes Lewis. Yeah, we both went to UCLA, man. That's the homie. I'm gonna be lying. I'm gonna be lying like a bug. Like I ain't even because that's what we do. I don't know if Mel and Marvin do it, but I went to Florida. People always ask, "Hey man, you went to Florida, right?" Yeah. You played with Tim Tebow at first. I'm like, no, I ain't played with Tim Tebow. I might have lied a couple of times. Like, yeah, I won a couple of natties. I didn't. That never happened. That never. But shout out to Mercedes Lewis because it's hard to be remembered in the league if you weren't an All-Pro, future Hall of Fame player. But Mercedes Lewis to the tight end position is what Frank Gore is to the running back position. Frank Gore is third all-time in rushing. He was never considered the best running back, but you got to respect 16,000. Mercedes Lewis, he'll say, "I'll let you know about retiring when I retire," because he might come back again. This might not be his last year. So, listen, shout out to the best position in football. I know we just a couple of weeks removed from National Tight Ends Day. It needs to be Listen, and I know Marvin is on here. We need to have a national fullbacks day because tight ends aren't fullbacks. We do not block people. Not like that. We don't come up through the hole. That's 6'5", don't come up through the hole. We get knocked out. That's how we end up on IR for doing dumb stuff like that. Just saying. That's my PSA.
Oh, I like your PSA. Now we'll go to a transition 101 over to Marvin.
You know, for this guy to be in the league for as long as he's been, it does speak to what Ben was saying. These veterans who know how to move, know how to prepare, and they have a discipline. You know, when you get to the NFL, which for a lot of us stands for not for long, you know, they tell you at these rookie symposiums, these teams tell you what to do to last in the league, what to do to have longevity in regards to how you live your life, how you train, how you spend money. And guys like Mercedes Lewis paid attention. A guy like me, after my first year, in that first offseason when I should have been training, I got an apartment in the Hollywood Hills, and I was living my life, doing things I had no business doing when I should have been training. And that's why, for me, it ended up being not for long. So when I hear Mercedes Lewis, you know, still in the league all these years, you know, at a position that isn't soft, you know, tight end, that's physical, man. You an offensive lineman, essentially, okay? And you out there against some defensive ends, against some backers, that's grunt work. That's real work. That's grown man business. And that takes a toll on your hands, you know, on every aspect of your body, you know, having to push these dudes around. So kudos to him. Obviously, he's the ultimate professional. You know, this is an example of somebody that young players should definitely be looking at and watching because he knows all the vet moves. He knows how to last. He knows how to keep getting that check. And that matters, you know. And in that league, if you're lucky enough to get into that league, your job is to collect checks for as long as you can, and your body can hold up, and he's doing it. And obviously he's doing it with a certain passion and professionalism. And, you know, nothing but respect for that guy.
No.
Yeah, I think he's kind of transformed from when he came into the league. He was a pass catching tight end because he was real thin when he first came into the league, and he was really a pass catching tight end. And then, you know, now he's put on weight and he's become a blocking tight end where, you know, most tight ends now really aren't blockers. Your Travis Kelce's. I mean, he's just, you know, he's okay in the blocking game. Kittle, he works hard at it. You know, he's okay in the passing game. A lot of these tight ends now, or excuse me, in the running game, a lot of these tight ends right now aren't complete tight ends where they can, you know, like a Gronk who can block very well and also catch the ball very well. These guys are like one or the other. And Mercedes Lewis, what he's done is he's transformed from a pass catching tight end, put on some weight, some girth, and now he's become a blocking tight end. And so there's a lot of teams now going with these heavy packages and these teams that like to run the football where they want to have that tight end out there that can run at the point of the attack, that, you know, that against that big stud linebacker that's trying to sit there and set the edge. They want somebody that can control that edge rusher or that edge defender. But, you know, for him to do it for as long as he's doing it, really, you know, it's a testament to him, his mindset, because really, you know, your body probably can do it a lot longer than your mind can. And for him to be able to stay as long as he can mentally, you know, with what you have to do in the off season to get your body ready to be prepared to play a full 17 game season, you know, it is very, very difficult. And it speaks a lot about him and his mindset that he still wants to put his body through that. The games, that's the easy part. That's the easy part. It's the practice, and not even the practice. It's the off season. It's getting your body prepared to do what you need to do, you know, to be able to play a 17 game season. Then he's willing to continue to put his body through that, the weightlifting, the conditioning, those types of things, the nutrition, being away from his family for a certain period of time during the day, every day, so that he's always ready. Because he wasn't, you know, he wasn't on a team, I don't believe, in training camp. I think somebody called him because they had an injury and he came in late. So that means he came in late. So, I mean, that means he's ready. So he went and had a tryout, looked good, and they said, hey, and, you know, you're going to suit up. So that just says a lot about him and his, you know, his mental fortitude and him still wanting to play at this advanced age. Because I know at 41, I don't want to have nothing to do with no contact, especially as a fullback. You know, you got to run in there and try to hit a linebacker. Nobody's trying to. I wasn't trying to do that. And he's, you know, these edge guys are big now. They're big. They're nasty. They got you know, hard hands, man. And, you know, I wouldn't want to have nothing to do with it at that age, man. He can go into the house. But and he's a very smart guy, so I know he has other interests. There's other things that he can do. He doesn't have to play. Doesn't have to play football. There's other things that he can do.
Yeah, he knows even to mind it. Candy?
He was selected by the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first round of the 26 NFL draft. And as of 2025 NFL season, is one of two remaining active players from that class, alongside Buffalo Bills place kicker Matt Prater. Now, Matt's not taking hits like Mercedes is, so it's pretty impressive. He holds the NFL record for the most career NFL games by a tight end at 286 games, and he's the oldest NFL player to play at tight end. Both, I mean, if you think about it, he's had quite a career to play that long in the NFL in such a physical position where you're taking lots of hits. I mean, as far as the games played, like there was only one season that he played less than 10 games, and that was the 2014. He played 8 games. Otherwise, he played in 15, 16, 16. I mean, remember, that's how many games they had back then. 15, 16, 16, 15, 16, 15, 16, 11, 8, 16, 10, 16, 16, 16, 15, 17, 17, 17, 17. And obviously this year he hasn't played. He's only played in one so far, according to the website that I'm on currently. But what a career.
Tommy?
Yeah, that's remarkable. I was going to say, but I can't imagine there's anybody left from that draft class besides maybe an old quarterback or a kicker. So, yeah, he's had a remarkable career. And I remember picturing him as a guy that would catch a lot of balls, maybe be around the league 5-6 years. Like Mel said, he's put on a lot of weight and changed his role and adapted to the NFL. It's a remarkable story. He should be writing a book about health and nutrition and training for the NFL. Mercedes, if you need a co-author, give me a call.
Hey, I may be calling you. You never know, Shanahan, if I need a co-author. All right, go ahead, Stephen. You got the last word on this. We got more to get to, but I'm glad we've gotten to what we have so far. A lot more on today's trade deadline, and we'll talk about our feature topic of the night in a little bit. Go ahead, Stephen. Last word on Mercedes.
Nothing to really add. I've already touched on it on my program last week. We've already hit it out of the park. Ain't not much to add to that.
Okay, no problem. We'll talk about Miami Hurricanes. They lost 26-20 to SMU versus former coach Rhett Lashley, who did, by the way, ink a 7-year extension. And guess what? Miami, Mario Cristobal now drops to 4 wins and 11 losses in the month of November. That is not good. The Canes they'll take on Syracuse this weekend. It's Saturday. Candy and I will be there, and they're going to face a former Michigan coach by the name of Don Brown, called Dr. Blitz, Mr. Stack. So let me give you few particulars about Don Brown. He's regarded as one of the top defensive minds in the country, a defensive coach with a nickname called Dr. Blitz. He has led FBS programs to close to a dozen top 10 national finishes in total defense. He was formerly a defensive coordinator at Michigan, Maryland, Boston College, UConn, UMass, and Arizona, and head coach at UMass. He's an aggressive guy with high energy, hard-hitting defenses, with his scheme as organized chaos, blitzing nearly 85% of the time. But let's start with this, okay? Steven, what are your thoughts? The Miami Hurricanes in the month of November are absolutely awful. Their winning percentage is under 300, but 4-11, you cannot play that kind of football in college. And the Miami Hurricanes have lost these 2 games, recent games, against unranked opponents. They're in a tough spot, Stephen.
No, they're in not a tough spot. They're in a terrible spot. They've
Right.
knocked themselves right out of any playoff talk, bowl talk, whatever. They're playing like absolutely terrible. Carson Beck looks like a deer lost in the headlights. They got a lot of problems going on down there outside of just dropping games to unranked teams. It's a dumpster fire right there right now. I don't know what they can do to salvage this season, but the playoffs are out of it. You're only hoping that they can get a bowl game at this point in time.
Yeah, Don Brown will probably come up with some interesting blitz schemes against them over the weekend. Tommy?
Well, Louisville is having a great season, and they caught him off guard. Beck threw all those interceptions. SMU may not be having a good a season as last year, but they're still a solid program, and they're only going to get better with the NIL money that with their booster base they're allowed to pay players. So I don't know how surprising it is Miami lost those two games. I wasn't expecting them to go undefeated before they played Louisville or before they play, and I wasn't surprised they lost to SMU. So Miami's a good team. They'd have to win the ACC. They have to get into the ACC championship game and then win it, or they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, Rhett Lashley's a great coach, and he obviously coached under Mario Cristobal, and of course now he ended up beating Mario Cristobal on Saturday. Candy?
I think Miami has to remember who they are, and that's part of the problem. When Carson Beck, when they got down really quick in the Louisville game, they became more one-dimensional. And when you become one-dimensional, defenses know what you're going to do. They know that they've got to try and, stop the pass because you were down 14-0 really quick. And so you become a team that has to pass. Carson Beck was under pressure. He felt like he had to prove himself, I think, and really push. The one thing I did hear an interview, and it happened sometime this week, and Carson Beck said something really interesting. He said, we have to stick together as a team, which leads me to believe that he hasn't been much of a leader and much of a person that brought the team together, that they're not playing for each other. And if you're not playing for each other, then who are you playing? Then what are you doing? Because we've all talked about even some of the baseball teams lately, that if you can have a lower payroll, but if your camaraderie, if you're not, how do I put this? If you're not a cancer in the locker room, it makes a big difference. And so I really wonder what kind of a leadership is going on in that locker room. It'll be interesting. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a bad player, but I'm also saying, Cam Ward left, Xavier Restrepo left. They don't have the receivers. Yes, Malachi Toney is a freshman, and look what he's doing. He's been doing great, but they've become pretty one-dimensional, or only a very few, and they haven't been able to distribute it as well as I think they need to.
Well, one thing about the Canes offense is you say what you want about Beck, but it runs through Mark Fletcher Jr. This guy will play pro football. He really will. He's a heck of a running back. Okay, Mel.
Miami caught SMU at a bad time, right? They just gave that coach an extension because his name was mentioned with, for a lot of the coaching vacancies that are coming up, because you got some premier coaching vacancies. So it was kind of catch-22. It's either a bad time for the SMU coach or a bad time for Mario Cristobal, and it ended up being a bad time for Mario. Carson Beck, I told you I was never really all that high on him. He didn't play very well that game. And, it just goes back, you're saying you got to play for each other. Well, I mean, that's easy to say when you're driving around in a Lamborghini and I'm driving a moped to school. So, I mean, I don't know, you talk about him being a leader, and, you're leading from the front in a Lamborghini, and I'm your offensive lineman and I'm blocking from you, but I have a moped to get around to school. So I don't know. I mean, it goes back to this whole NIL thing, which I have I have a lot of issues with. You knew Miami they played some close games. They played some in some of the close games they won. They were able to, Carson Beck played well in one game. I can't remember which game exactly it was. But he was able to play well enough for them to win that game. So they escaped some games. They won some games they probably should have lost. And, here's a game here where they turned the ball over too much. I think it got down to overtime, and I don't know what Carson Beck was looking at, what he saw. I didn't watch the whole game, but I did see that play, and threw it to the other team. And when you throw it to the other team in overtime, all they had to do is set it up for the field goal. But I wouldn't put it in the kicker's hands or on his foot. I would just, punch it in just as SMU did, and then take it on to the house, get on out of there. So great win for SMU and for that coach. Kind of justifies their belief in him. And like Tom says, we know they have money because they were paying folks way back a long time ago. So we know they have the money. SMU is coming back, and I like it. I'm glad. I think college football is better when SMU is relevant. I think what the NCAA did to them back in the mid '80s was an atrocity. I don't think that that's something that they should have done, and I think they realized they should not have done that to that program. But it's unfortunate for Miami. I think they're now 7th in the conference now. Makes it very difficult for them to get to the I'm sure there is some mathematical path for them to get to the college playoffs, but it just became that much more difficult.
Yeah, they have a lot of work to do. Go ahead, Marvin.
Marvin, we can't hear you.
If Mario Cristobal's teams are winning 30% of their games in November, that speaks to a few things. Number one, coaching. It seems like these other coaches that the teams are playing have the book on them, and their offense and defense isn't evolving and adjusting the way it needs to, because after half of the season, these coaches kind of know what you're doing, and you're just not, you're not producing the way you need to as a coach. That's me. Additionally, if the teams are losing in November, that also can speak to their strength and conditioning program, which you would think at UM is going to be elite, but I'd have to look at the injury reports and see how these guys are holding up, but that's not good for their program. In November, you want to be ramping up. You want to be getting ready to get everybody healthy and figure out who your starters are, because you've been rotating all year long. But these guys are falling apart in the end. To me, that's a coaching issue, especially considering that Miami's getting elite players. You know what I mean? So something's not happening with that coaching staff. Is how I would look at it.
Ben?
I think the problem in Miami is not November. I think the problem in Miami is, Miami hasn't won the ACC since they've been in it, and they've been in it for 20 years.
Wow.
When you think about a situation like that, when you think about how great those Miami teams were in the past in the Big East, right? Mario Cristobal wants to do what Kirby Smart is doing. He wants to do what Steve Spurrier has done. Anytime a player wants to go back to his alma mater, he wants to get him out of the dark years. Miami got to figure out what the culture problem is. They got good players. They got good teams. They ain't never been to Charlotte. That's a problem. Miami ain't never won the ACC. SMU has already been to Charlotte, and they just got to the ACC. So I think Cristobal is a good coach. I think he has some good ideas. Carson Beck left Georgia to go to Miami. No one does that, and that's taking nothing away from Miami. You don't leave. The only reason why you go from Georgia to Miami is you're going on vacation, or your first name is Margaret. That's it. That's the only reason why you do that. So when Carson Beck goes to Georgia, goes to Miami, he's good as long as the team he playing ain't. If the team he playing ain't good, he look real good. If they start scheming him up, Miami almost lost to Florida State. Florida State just ran out of time. And I think for Miami is Carson Beck wants to be the quarterback that breaks through to say, hey, man, we finally won the ACC championship. Most people don't even know Miami ain't never won the ACC. And they've been there for 20 years. How do you explain that? Bigger than what's not going on or what didn't happen last week, you can't justify being in the conference for 20 years and you never played for the championship, and you've never won it. So I think for Cristobal and Carson Beck and company, the ACC used to be ran by Clemson and then Florida State and sometimes North Carolina. Notre Dame is obviously the biggest brand in the ACC, but for Miami, they're going to have to figure out what's up with us, because culture to me is going to win more games than talent ever has. Miami can never, ever say they don't got money and they don't got talent. They got both. big time recruiting classes, but they just keep coming up short, and not just during the regular season, in the bowl games. Like, you know, they don't be doing it. So as a person that knows a lot about Miami football because I played in that and played in the state of Florida, I'm asking myself, what is going on in Miami that only Mario Cristobal and those players know, that only comes out if a player transfers? They'll tell you then, oh man, this is this or is that. I didn't know that the November record was like that, but Miami is doing now what Clemson did before they broke through. Before Dabo Swinney, they used to call it Clemsoning. They'll play real good and then they just fall off. And people are like, what's going on with that? That's kind of what's going on with Miami. For Miami to win the ACC championship and get out of dark ages, it's got to be a kid from Florida that grew up a Hurricanes fan, not a kid from Jacksonville that went to Georgia and went down to Miami because he got more money. You're not going to win like that. And I'm not mad at Carson Beck. I'm just telling you, certain places are going to win for certain reasons. Mel said he grew up wanting to go to UCLA, right? Marv came behind his pops, right? You don't got legacies like that no more. You don't got players that say, my dad went here, so I want to go here. They're getting the biggest check. And like I said, and it's just me. You're not going to get out the darkest ages with your quarterback named Carson. That's just me. I could be wrong, right? I've been wrong a lot. Just ask my wife. Carson is not going to do it. And I could be wrong, but I don't if you are a Miami Hurricanes fan or analyst or, you know, love Miami, you wondering, dude, what's up? Like how is it you beat Florida, Florida State, and USF in back-to-back seasons and you have nothing to show for it? No college football playoff berth, no ACC championship berth, and you lost in the bowl game where Cam Ward showed up to the game and didn't play. Like, I don't understand that. So I will be watching Miami, but I think it's a lot more going on that we really know. We get to see it on the surface on Saturdays, but there's no reason SMU should have beat them. I don't care. They shouldn't have beat Miami. A newcomer shouldn't be beat. SMU is not Texas. SMU is not Alabama. They're SMU, and right now they one of the best teams in the ACC. If you look at it from so I mean SMU beating Miami is like Stanford beating Florida State. It happened, but it shouldn't have happened. And you sit there and scratch your head and say, dude, which way are we going? So yeah, Miami has too much tradition and too much money. I mean, Manny Diaz made more money. Shoot, I wonder how much can coaches get NIL? Because wasn't Manny Diaz on top of yachts taking pictures and waving at people and all kind of stuff? But I'm rooting for Mario Cristobal for different reasons. But until they go to Charlotte and win, it's gonna be they're fighting for regular season accolades, and they're gonna they might have the number 1 overall pick this year in the draft too. By the way, they might do it 2 years in a row. We'll see how that goes. But it's always gonna be a hedge because I played against that 2001, 2010, that 2002, and 2003 Miami team, and so I know what Miami has to offer. It's just ain't no more Larry Coker's coming through that door. Ain't no more Ed Reed's coming through that door. Ain't no more Sean Taylor's, may he rest in peace, coming through that door. They got good players that want to play for Miami, and because they're making a lot of money, and they got the best weather outside of SC. Outside of SC and UCLA, they got the best weather. Well, outside of Hawaii, and they got some pretty good weather out there too. It's just, I don't know, man. You know how many kids that go to Miami now think that Miami ain't? They was like, yeah, they was good back when they had, VHS. No, dude, that was good in the DVD era too. It ain't been much to show since. So we'll see. But yeah, unfortunately, I've seen this happen too many times in Miami, and I just don't know. I just don't know what the remedy is, because that's too much talent. That's too much money. And for everybody thinking that NIL works, if it works, Miami will be winning it. No, it don't work. It's just working for the people who get the money. They getting the money, but that return on investment, not so much right now down there in South Beach.
Well, let me tell you, the last time you were on here, I'm sorry, Tommy, go ahead.
Yeah, let's add that Miami's got to play a lot smarter too, because they had a roughing the quarterback penalty on 4th down, and that allowed SMU to kick the field goal to go into overtime. So that's part of it too.
Last time you were on this show, Ben, you definitely sniffed something out when it came to that Louisville game, and lo and behold, they lost. So I'll give you that. Another thing they can thank Mark Richt for is that indoor facility, because he put a lot of his money in to get him one, which they desperately needed over there. And as far as Larry Coker, he's a heck of a coach, that's for sure. And I'll tell you, the one thing Candy and I will be over there this weekend at Hard Rock is Don Brown cooks up enough blitzes, then Carson Beck will be dead man walking. And Miami has a chip on their shoulder knowing that they lost to Syracuse later in the year up in Syracuse. So it'll be a very interesting football game, to say the least. One more topic before we go to station break. We'll talk about our feature topic of the night when we come back from that. But the NFL, Asia, let's talk about the NFL is moving to Asia. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell confirms the NFL will play its first regular season game soon. All right, Ben, what are your thoughts about the NFL playing in Asia?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, the NFL has done an incredible job of growing the game internationally. They have done, and I mean, the fact that they're starting off the year, they start off the year in Brazil, right? And then I can't remember how many games they've had international this year. I mean, kudos to the league. I mean, the league sits down and say, how do we want to make our millions this year? Or billions, I'm sorry, this year. How do we want to do it? And I can remember at a time when somebody said go overseas, they was like, absolutely not. Now it's how many? You know what they're saying now? Who hasn't been? Which teams haven't been yet? If I could take the face of the league, which is still Patrick Mahomes, and he starts off the year and is not in the States, everybody else should already know. So I'm not surprised. I'm looking to see what the NFL is going to do, because when you talk about understanding what your brand is, the NFL is all about the freaking logo. It's all about the shield. And they know that. So Asia, look, man, Asia probably been knew this was going to happen. They probably got a stadium being built as we speak to say, yeah, we're going to have a stadium built by the time y'all come over here. But no, I'm not surprised. I give Roger Goodell, I give those owners, the one thing about those owners, those 32 owners, they do one thing well, and that's make money together. They want to win on Sunday, but they know how to make money. And they care about the brand being bigger than in each individual team. So I'm not surprised. I just think about other leagues that ask themselves, what's the NFL doing that we're not? The NBA said, what is the NBA? What is the NFL doing, or the NHL or MLB? And for those people that saying things like the MLB had the Game 7 in the World Series had more viewership than Game 7 in the NBA Finals, no one cares about OKC and the Pacers. We watched it. You think the Pacers and OKC compare to the Blue Jays and the Dodgers? You think if the Lakers was in the finals, they wouldn't have broke records? Stop that. I just hear people saying the NBA ain't as popular as MLB. Oh, yes, it is. It's just OKC and you know, and the Pacers aren't as appealing as New York and LA. But hey, I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for the league. I just think that the league, the same league that myself and Marv and Mel was in, could do a better job when it comes to players that no longer play if you can go to Asia. If you could do stuff like that, don't be crying. Don't be crying. We ain't got no money when it comes to taking care of the people. Because every player, whether you was an all-star, no star, whether you contributed or you just, you know, a practice squad player, you built the bricks for these players to have what they have now. So make sure that the same NFL don't cry broke when it comes time to do for those that's already that's everybody ain't gonna be a Mercedes Lewis. Whether you play one game or 20 years, make sure you take care of the players that can no longer lace it up anymore.
Great stuff. Great stuff. And by the way, if they want to play in Asia, I already made a recommendation. Narendra Modi Stadium in India, 132,000. There you go. There's one place to go. I have to mention that. All right, Marvin, what are your thoughts?
And when I was in elementary school, my dad was the president of the NFLPA, and he told me then that the NFL is trying to go overseas. They were making a push back then. This is all inevitable. You know, we watched this game, and the thing about this, NFL football is not a sport. It's a business. And they got one objective, and that is to make money. And you see what these boys were doing in the NBA. You see what Nike's doing in China. I mean, it just makes sense. It's inevitable. You know, for as much as you're hearing out here in this political climate, you know, America is still envied. People love American culture. People want a part of the American experience. And China, I mean, they spend money in China. You know, they spend money out there. So it makes perfect sense. You know, Roger Goodell works for the NFL owners. Those are his bosses. And in that position, his job is to push that brand and help make them money. And that's what he's doing. It just makes perfect sense to go to China and push his brand.
Now,
Yeah, the NFL is not just a business; it's entertainment. So they're spending all these money. You're talking about $700 million they're spending there in Happy Valley on the stadium. They're spending money on the venue to house the entertainment. The NFL has figured this out. Well, all the leagues have figured it out. This is entertainment. That's why the money really doesn't matter. That's why $700 million really doesn't resonate, because it's entertainment, and people will pay more to be entertained. So now what they need to do, what they're trying to do is they're trying to develop another market, and not that they're going to have a team over there in Asia, because they don't necessarily need another team, but they do need those eyeballs and get more people involved, get more people interested, and more people excited about it. So now they're just going to take the show on the road, and it's just like taking the play on the road. That's all it is. They're taking this entertainment, this form of entertainment that we have here, that we enjoy, and they're going to expose it to some other folks and hope that they enjoy it as much as we do, which they probably will. And that's, and I think that's why the NFL is going. I mean, we played in Japan. I remember played, before it was preseason games, they called it the American Bowl or something like that. I can't remember what it was. And we played San Francisco over in Japan. I didn't particularly care for it. The folks weren't very nice, weren't very friendly, but it was a nice experience to go to Japan. Now, Germany was a different story. The folks were nicer over there. But it's great for the players too, because they get an opportunity to experience different cultures as well, whereas they may not otherwise get an opportunity to do so. So, I mean, the NFL, this is entertainment, and what they're doing is, they're trying to build that audience. And you look at, the Dodgers, there might be some talent over there. I mean, you look at the Dodgers roster and the number of Japanese players that they have on their roster, and how well they're doing, and the audience that they're able to garner over there in Japan. Now, what if a couple, people from India, China, or whatever are able to play football? What kind of audience would the NFL be able to get, because they have some Asian players out there playing on the field? So yeah, I mean, it's twofold. They want to expose them to this form of entertainment, but also they're mining for gold as well.
Okay. Candy?
Let's face it, internationally, the U.S. has got lots of international people living here in the United States as well. Some of them are from Asia, from all these other countries. And how many of them maybe aren't interested in American football, but maybe they'd watch it because they're playing in their home country all of a sudden? The NFL wants to eventually get to play 16 games each season internationally. So all of the teams would be playing at least one international game. To do that, they want to spread it out over 5. This is going to be the 5th continent that they're going to be on, so that they can get more people. So not only the people that are here in the United States to watch, but the people that are out in these other countries to become NFL fans and watch their product, support their product, buy merchandise for their product. The NFL, they're a big business, and they're getting it right. They know what to do and how to market themselves.
Tommy?
Yeah, it used to be that they played a lot of games over in Japan, going back to the 70s. A couple of guys that I know that they had Japanese mothers, Tom Kallmeyer, who played with the Giants, and J.C. Pearson, who played for the Chiefs. They said they were treated like celebrities when they got over there. So I think it's more surprising that the NFL has been away from Japan for so long. They even used to play regular season college games over there every year. If you remember, the night Barry Sanders won the Heisman Trophy, I believe he was over in Japan.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Oklahoma State was playing there. So I think the bigger surprise is they waited. They've been focused on Europe and kind of forgot about Japan. And let's remember, now it's getting pretty common for Japanese baseball players to make it in Major League Baseball. But when those first few guys came over, their networks from Japan, like ABC and NBC and CBS or ESPN here, they would send people to cover one player the entire season. That's how big a news it was. That's how much it was followed in Japan. And they do have a Japanese professional league over there. A lot of American players have been coaches over there. And There's a kicker at the University of Hawaii who's from Japan. I don't know if he's NFL caliber. If he made an NFL team, it'd be like baseball, where they'd have a crew from all the networks in Japan covering all of his games, like he was a superstar, like he was Tom Brady. So, yeah, there's all kinds of potential for the NFL to expand into Asia.
Even
It's, again, we talked about this many times before. The no surprises, none. Asia's a huge market that the NFL is, salivating at the opportunity to tap into that market. So, not surprised. We as we talked in the past, we're gonna see Australia at some point in time over the next few seasons as well. They're doing what they can to become a global powerhouse, not just a powerhouse in North America.
And Scott, as we talk about the NFL being a business, let's not forget this one thing. This gambling thing is growing and getting bigger and bigger, and the NFL is getting a piece of that, and them people in Asia gamble. Again, this makes perfect sense. Seriously, when you consider, what's happening in America with gambling, how it's opening up and growing, man, they're going to do the same thing in Asia. You talking about, you think you're making money now? Wait another 10 years, see where we're at and how much money we're in.
The only thing I'll say is the NFL doesn't miss a beat. You know that as well as I do. These guys got it all figured out. And we're going to do one topic rapid fire. We're going to a station break, and that's this. Okay, Arch Manning believes he received undeserved attention because of his name getting too much praise. We'll make this a short answer type of question. Stephen, do you think he's getting too much attention? What are your thoughts about where he's at with that?
You reap what you sow. You know what you signed up for. You're a third generation athlete. You wanted to pick where you go. You wanted to do he's unfairly nothing. This is what comes with it. This is the price tag that comes with being a highly sought after talent. What comes with being a high caliber professional athlete. If he feel like he's getting unnecessary anything at this point in time, you can only imagine what happens to him when he gets to the NFL.
Tommy?
Yeah, I give him credit for not talking about this a lot earlier, because obviously there were too many people in the media that got carried away, like Paul Feinbaum. And Arch Manning, as far as everything I've read about him, is he remained humble. When they have those quarterback camps that his brothers run, he would always defer to other quarterbacks because it was a special trip for them to be around the Manning brothers.
Right.
He never took center stage at those events. So for him to say something, I don't have any criticism of him at all, because I think he's been in a difficult situation since day one, and he's handled it better than most guys would have.
Candy?
Yes, he's in a difficult situation, but the other thing is he's getting paid. It's not like before when he didn't get paid. You went out, you got a big paycheck, and now you've got to expect there's going to be expectations on you, whether you have a last name of Manning or not.
Fair enough. Mel?
Well, I empathize with the young man. It's very difficult to understand. And Marvin probably understands that being a third, me being a junior, it is very, there are a lot of unfair expectations that are placed on you at a very young age and pretty much all your life. And he didn't ask to be a Manning. I mean, that's how he came in the world. So it's not something that he asked for. He could have done something else. He doesn't have to play football, I guess, but everybody else did, and he has a passion for it. And I do. I understand. I understand what he's saying. Yeah, there was a lot of undue pressure and attention given to him, none of which he asked for, none of which he warranted, because he hadn't done anything up until that point. But a lot of people, these pundits, have a lot of expectations. They expect him to be like his uncles. He is who he is. He's his own person. He's his own individual. Now, maybe he would have played a different position if he was a long snapper, or if he would have been a center or a tight end or something like that, then there wouldn't be these type of comparisons. But when you go and you play the same position, and I never wanted to play running back. They just
Right.
always made me a running back. I never wanted to play running back. I always wanted to play defense. I wanted to be the hitter, not the hittee. So I empathize with the young man. It's a very, very difficult situation. And, if you're not strong mentally, it can break you. And so he's handling it, as good as he possibly can. And, and I just hope obviously his play improves, but, they got to judge him for who he is, not for who his uncles were and what they did in college football and also what they did in the NFL. He may never be a Hall of Fame type player. He may not be a number 1 draft pick. I mean, look at Shedeur Sanders. I mean, his dad was one of the absolute greatest who ever laced him up. And, he got drafted in the, whatever round he got drafted in, the 6th round. He's traveling a difficult road too, but he's obviously playing a different position. But it's very, very difficult when you have that last name that people are very, very aware of, and then to try to do the same thing that they're doing. Now, some kids do it very, very well. Ken Griffey Jr., he did it better than his dad. Obviously Peyton Manning and Eli Manning probably did a little bit better than their dad. Some guys, it's the reverse. Floyd Mayweather Jr., but it is very, very difficult.
Marvin?
Yeah, expectations are a good thing without question. It gives you a target, and you have a certain sense of awareness when you've seen when there are men in the house who've done the job that you're trying to do. Listen, he was the number 1 quarterback in the nation at Newman High School in New Orleans. ESPN was covering his kid since his sophomore, junior year. Texas spent like $3 million to recruit this kid, and his NIL package is over $10 million. Good for him. It comes with it. I don't know if this is disappointing and it's a red flag moving forward, or if it's just a young kid who just got emotional and spoke, which it probably is. That's not a great take on his part. If I'm his teammates, I'm just thinking like, what goes with the territory. So unfair. It wasn't unfair when they were jocking you and loving you and praising you. It is what it is, man. So you got to toughen up, young buck. He's young, and I can assure you, moving forward, after watching Eli and Pat and Peyton do a great job of accountability in their post-game interviews, he'll get some lessons from them regarding how to deal with that kind of criticism that comes with being the number 1 quarterback at a major brand who's getting big money.
Van?
Yeah, criticism is only unfair when you don't like what's coming at you. I mean, I think Marvin just hit it on the head. When everybody was praising him, he ain't have nothing to say. When he picked Texas, he ain't have nothing to say. When he got wined and dined, when he was going on all these recruiting visits, he ain't have nothing to say. You chose to go to Texas. You know what coming with going to a place like Texas. But you know what he's really saying? They thought that he was going to be the Manning to do something that none of the other Mannings did. That's win a national championship. It's not going to happen.
Right.
He was going to be the man that win the Heisman. It's not going to happen. And I think sometimes that's what it really is. When Paul Feinbaum sees him at SEC Media Days and said, he's the next coming to Tim Tebow. No, he is not. You know what he's doing? He's doing what his uncles did. Eli went to Ole Miss. He was good. He was the number 1 overall pick. Peyton Manning went to Tennessee. He never beat Florida, never went to an SEC championship game, and he was the number 1 overall pick. Arch is going to play okay at Texas, and he's going to make throws to validate the fact he's probably still going to be the number 1 overall pick when he comes out. But when you start saying things like, I'm getting unfair, what is unfair? No, unfair is the fact that NIL don't work for every player in college football, because everybody don't get NIL. You're getting $10 million. You're getting $10 million to be okay at Texas. You all right. You ain't a good player. You ain't a bad player. You right there in the middle. Now, I can respect him saying what he's saying, but I would say to him what Ron Zook told me when I was at Florida. You don't know what they say if you don't listen. If you listen to what they say, it's going to get to you. You don't got to listen. You can get off of social media. You got enough money to have a team, which you probably already had a team, to say, hey, don't do this, don't do that, we'll tweet for you. Because at the end of the day, you want to smoke. So you went to the University of Texas. And I know that's one of the biggest brands in college football, in college, period. And I empathize with him too. But a lot of people love to be a Manning. A lot of people love to be a Woods. A lot of people, Bronny still played basketball, didn't he? Yeah. And he turned out, he ain't as good as his daddy. You're not going to have a Ken Griffey Jr. That's not going to happen, right? Those type of things don't happen, like lightning striking twice like that. But last time I checked, Marvin still went to SC. Melvin, you still went to, y'all still did it. I didn't want to do it, but I still went. And they didn't pay y'all. I can deal with a lot more criticism with $10 million. I think I can deal with it. I can handle it just a little bit more. Hey, Marvin. Hey, Mel, listen, man. I know they're talking about y'all, but that check should hit next week. All right, man, because I ain't want to have to keep going to the mailbox. Come on,
Well,
Arch. Really? Come on.
I'll say this much. I wish I had his problems. I'd be doing play-by-play by now, everybody.
You ain't lying.
Those are called
I would
good
be,
problems.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'd be doing play-by-play. I'm listening to every one of you. I'd be doing play-by-play. Look at all these family members where you pre all these offspring with the Bucks and the Carries and the Eagles and all that. Give me that problem. Let me have this family stuff where I got to live up to that. I got no problem. I can research with the best of them people. I do this stuff. I live off of it. I do it all day and night. Give me the problems of Manning. I'll take it. No problem. I'll take it. You made your bed. You're going to sleep in it. You're in Texas. Let's see what happens. You don't win a national championship. You're going to get paid some money someplace. That's that. We're going to wait till the station break at the end of the show. I want to get some topics done. A few of the next ones are going to be done in rapid fire. Well, we'll go to our featured topic of the night. Dan Quinn's capital mistake was using Commanders QB Jaden Daniels trailing 38-7 versus the Seattle Seahawks. Washington lost to Seattle 38-14. Dan Quinn said, yeah, I own it 100%. Yeah, you own it and you're out minus your top quarterback. Rapid fire on all the rest of the topics going forward so we can get to everything. All right, Ben, lead off.
I mean, if I was Dan Quinn, I wouldn't have went out there. So I know he's trying to do all his best to look out for his quarterback, but everybody else got to play when they're down, right? Everybody else got to play football, right? You're gonna get hurt sometime. Isn't it crazy that the quarterback shouldn't have been in, but all the other guys got to be in? It's called football. Football is not a contact sport; it's a collision sport. It's unfortunate. And you know what happens every week in the National Football League? Somebody goes out for the season. Every week. That happens every week. Most of the time, the player's name isn't big enough for us to care. And I feel bad for Jaden Daniels. I do. But I also feel bad for Cam Scatterboo. Remember his leg? It's going to happen. You're not trying to make it happen, but we think all of a sudden injuries are a bad thing when you're down. No, you learn who the player is when you're down. When you're getting beat like that, okay, let's see who's gonna just. I feel bad for Jaden Daniels, and I respect Dan Quinn for trying to go to bat for his quarterback, but you were gonna lose the game. So you say now we lost out. Okay, so what if Mariota gets in there and his arm goes the wrong way? It happens, unfortunately, sometimes. And hey, man, he's a really, really good player. But the thing that half of the battle in the football is not just playing the games; it's how well you can stay healthy because you're gonna hit it. It was ugly. But, man, it's unfortunate. But I do respect Dan Quinn for trying to, throwing himself under the bus for the decision that he made to keep him in the game.
Okay, Marvin?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've had concerns about Jaden Daniels, just his body type, his physical makeup. I've had serious concerns. I know that he's been like that his whole career, and he's been excellent. In college, he was an outstanding player, difference maker. He ran, he passed. These are grown men out there. These dudes ain't playing. I don't see this guy being able to play his style of game and play and have a long career. That's just not realistic for him. They have to either change what they're doing with him or get some meat on this kid. But I have concerns for him moving forward, like I had for him from the beginning, just based on his size and style of play.
Mel?
Yeah, he's got to. It's a difficult game, and the injury is unfortunate. You can't play if you want him to play not to hurt himself. Then you're going to get results like Tua, because you can see Tua's just out there playing not to get hurt. He's trying to get rid of the ball in 2 seconds. If the receiver's not open, then he's just getting rid of it. You can't go into a game. I mean, the coach, he's got so many other things that he's thinking about. They're behind by so many. He just wants to get some more reps under his young quarterback. He just came back. He was off a week or two or whatever because of a hamstring injury. He trying to get some type of rhythm so that they can have something positive on film to look at to go into the next game. You can't, that's not Dan Quinn's fault. Injuries happen. Unfortunately, injuries happen, and sometimes they're catastrophic injuries sometimes as well. But I mean, he's got to do a better job protecting himself. I mean, he could get rid of the ball. He's in control of a lot of the things that happen to him as a quarterback, particularly when you're talking about getting sacked. I mean, you got to get rid of the football, and he didn't do that, unfortunately. And now he's got a serious injury, so he's going to be out for a while. But hey, that's just part of the game. Dan Quinn can't protect him from everything. He can do the best job he possibly can, put him in the situations, tell him what to do, but obviously he can't go out there and play the game for him, and he can't protect him. And the quarterback, sometimes you just got to do a better job of protecting yourself. Like I said, one of the things the league needs to do, and you see, another player got hurt sliding. That sliding for the quarterback, man, it's getting tough. You see, who was that got knocked out? Quarterback just got knocked out the game sliding. Who was that? CJ Stroud. Yeah, man. I mean, somebody's going to get really hurt because they are vulnerable at that particular time. You're not protecting yourself, and so you're in a very, very vulnerable situation. So once they get out of the pocket, then they lose all protections. You can't continue to protect them once they get out of the pocket. They just have to lose protections, and they just got to protect themselves. Running backs do it when they get out and open the field; they protect themselves. You get a big guy like Josh Allen. You got to make a business decision out there. Now, is this guy going to slide, or is he going to come try to run me over? And then you end up looking stupid. So I digress. But yeah, Jaden Daniels just has to do it. And like Marvin said, he's very slight. He did have some injuries in college as well, and with that type of build. He has to stay in the pocket. He has to be one to get rid of the football. He's not going to be able to run around. I mean, that's RG3. That didn't last very long. RG3 was everything in Washington for, what was that first year, maybe two. Then he got hurt, and once he couldn't run around like RG3 anymore, he wasn't special.
Okay, Candy?
Like everybody has said, football is a collision sport. We're not playing flag football out there. And I don't care when it is in the game. It's never a good time to get injured, and we don't wish injuries on anybody. But they happen on every single team, every single week. We hear of more and more players going down. Green Bay, Tucker Kraft, the tight end that did most catches on tight end Sunday. He went down. He's out for the season now, ACL. We're seeing more and more of these big, serious injuries. I don't know if maybe part of it is conditioning, strength and conditioning sometimes, some of these things. Some of them is not playing as, and I can't attest to this because maybe the players that played could attest to this, but when you practiced back in the day, you practiced hard a couple times a day, not just this, we can only touch you once a day, or we can only do this. You're also playing a long season as well. But, Dan Quinn, kudos to you for trying to own it, but it's not on you. It's a football injury, and injuries happen no matter college or NFL. You hate to see them, and you hate to see, especially when there's season-ending injuries.
All right, I'll make my comment brief because we do have a couple more topics I want to make sure we get to. They're very, very important. Okay. 38-7, keeping him in still is a bad look, no matter how you slice it. There are times when you can resort to the backup quarterback. You can. I mean, I understand giving him more reps. 38-7. Me personally, I don't like it. You could have gone to the backup there, Tommy.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is this is Robert Griffith, the third Redux. They had some immediate success. He got hurt, and then after that, the franchise went into disarray. The difference is the franchise has better ownership now, better leadership.
Right.
But the future doesn't look good at Washington.
Okay. Steven?
Listen, I don't think you put this on Dan Quinn. I think, because you're in a city like DC, they want to point the finger somewhere because they just lost their golden boy. I definitely agree with Marvin. There's red flags before this. He's already missed 3 games prior to this with being nicked up for other things. I do think there's a possibility they might get fined on that because it kind of looked like a hip drop tackle, and Jaden was putting his arm out and unfortunately, gets the dislocated elbow. I think the funnier thing was we're making these RG3 references, the same yard line against the same team on the same side of the field. It literally happened in the same exact spot. So, I mean, for all at this point in time, that stadium's cursed. They need to implode that as soon as possible. I think a lot of players would kind of agree with that, but I mean, it's unfortunate that this is going to set them back, a whole nother year. They brought in Debo Samuel, brought in all these guys, paid Terry McLaurin, all that stuff. And then you have this happen there. This pretty much puts an end in their season. As an Eagles fan, I want to see teams 100%, but it takes Washington right out of the potential being a divisional rival, trying to push you in your division. We play them twice in December. So for me, it puts them out of play. They can't challenge us for the division, and we can continue to take out whoever else is going to be thrown our way when over the next month and a half. So it's unfortunate, but I don't think you put that on Dan Quinn. I get it. You're down 38-7 with 7 minutes left in the game. They were driving the ball. They were about to put points on the board. So I can't get mad at Dan Quinn for that. Everyone is like, it's football.
Well, let's face it. I'm not mad at Dan Quinn. I'm just saying it's not a good look at 38-7. That's all I said.
What is it? They're driving the ball. Like, all right, as Ben was sitting there saying,
Right.
The lineman got to play. The skill position guys got to play. Why are we sitting there just because it's because Jaden Daniels got hurt? He's the face of that franchise. Listen, if this is New York, Philadelphia, LA, like if this happened to Matthew Stafford or this happened to Jalen Hurts, of course the media and everyone else is going to be trying to destroy the coach for keeping him on a blowout game. He isn't going to find his rhythm with these guys or going to get out of rhythm with these guys if you just yank them just because you're down, more than 2 scores. Who knows what could happen? They could have put the ball in the end zone there, get a turnover and put multiple points back on the board and get themselves right back in the game. We don't know that.
No, that's true. But I know one thing, Steven, okay, and I've been covering this league a hell of a lot longer than you. I've seen both sides of it, and I've interviewed a hell of a lot more coaches than you are. And they do have a heart, and they feel bad when something badly happens because they realize it's their franchise flavor. We'll leave it at that. Okay, a couple more topics I want to get to, and that's this. Hugh Freeze out of Auburn, okay? 25% of the SEC coaches have been fired. And, of course, in Hugh's situation, he goes 15-19 overall, 6-16 in the SEC, 0-2 versus Alabama. Rapid fire on this, Steven. What a tough break for Hugh Freeze down in Auburn.
Don't care.
You don't care? Okay, that's easy. What about you, Tommy? Do you care?
Hey, he was a recycled coach. What's the big surprise?
All right, Candy.
Let's face it, in this age of NIL, these coaches have to perform and they have to produce on the field. And if they're not getting production, that unfortunately, this is what's going to happen to more and more of them.
Mel?
Yeah, I mean, I think he thought he was going to have some success. After what he was able to do, where was he at? Liberty, and the SEC. I'm thinking, where was he at? Mississippi? Was he at Ole Miss or Mississippi State before that?
He was at Ole Miss.
He's at Ole Miss, and I think he got a raw deal when they ran him out of there. I can't remember exactly what the reason was, but that they ran him out of there. But yeah, I am surprised, really, to be honest with you. I thought he would do a better job, especially with what he was able to do at Liberty. I thought he'd do a better job at Auburn. Maybe needs more time. I don't know, but obviously, time is not something that a lot of these administrations are and athletic departments are willing to give coaches.
Okay, Marvin.
Yeah, Mel, he was using that school credit card on things he shouldn't have been using it on. But listen, this just tells you that there's no mercy. It's no mercy with these schools. The money don't matter. These buyouts don't matter. People out here starving, but they're going to pay a coach $50 million to leave. That tells you, again, football is its own religion out here, man. And there's no mercy with these SEC fans, or any of these fans, to be honest with you.
Ben?
Hugh Freeze knew he was on his way out. Hugh Freeze was able to get back to the SEC because of what he did at Liberty when he had Malik Willis. You mean to tell me a guy that got kicked out of Ole Miss because he was? I mean, I'm not going to get into his personal life, but I mean, I think Marvin just said it. He was, he didn't realize that the team laptop is accessible to freaking Ole Miss. They can see. Like, wait a minute, they can see my research history. Yeah, Hugh, really? Yeah. You mean to tell me they keep a record of what I swipe? Yeah. If it got Ole Miss on it. So he go to Liberty, then he go to Auburn. Auburn is one of those schools that's a part of the college football fabric, and they say the only thing lead to disappointment is expectation. He didn't meet expectations at all. He didn't do anything at Auburn. I'm talking about nothing. And the fact that he lasted as long as he did is because they was like, okay, he's had some success. Look, I ain't mad at Hugh Freeze. Look, like I said, teach a kid how to either hit a golf ball, throw a baseball, throw a football. But if not, learn how to coach and become a college football coach, because I don't want to hear Steve Sarkisian talk about NIL when he got a buyout. That's your security, Steve. They pay you to leave, to get out. So Hugh Freeze knew he was once Coach Franklin got fired at Penn State, you knew everybody else was coming. Billy Napier, gone, right? You knew that Hugh Freeze gone, because big time brands don't got time to be waiting around for these coaches to get it right. You got early signing day and national signing day, and Auburn is a bottom feeder. You talk about Vanderbilt right now that's only lost 2 games, and Auburn might not make a bowl game. Florida might not make a bowl. He got to go. So, and like I said, somebody else will pick him up with all these coaches. That's all these available places. He'll end up at like an Arkansas. Like he'll end up at like an Oregon State or Oklahoma State. UCLA ain't gonna. He can't go to UCLA because that country twang ain't gonna work, and that's not gonna work in Cali. Sorry, it's not. He walking up in there to my, hey man, what's up, y'all? What did you just say? No, they're gonna be like, what you talking about? Cuz that don't work out there. I'm just telling you, that don't work in LA. So y'all don't got to worry about him out there at UCLA, but he'll land on his feet. He's like Arch Manning. I mean, for some reason when you land on millions, I want those type of problems like you said, Scott.
There you go. All right, one other note over the weekend, Mike Shula was ousted at South Carolina, 3-6 start. He takes the fall there. I just want to put that out there. Mike, don't worry. I'm sure they paid you well. I don't know what went wrong there. One other quick topic, then we're going to go to the trade deadline stuff. Bengals invited a Ring of Honor member to a game, but wouldn't pay for their travel expenses. Former QB Boomer Esiason was unimpressed with their Ring of Honor ceremony. We'll make this real quick. We know the Bengals didn't trade Trey Hendrickson, but let's talk briefly about the Bengals being cheap, and they were cheap in this case, weren't they, Steven?
Yeah, me and Ben already went after the Bengals on this.
Well, it doesn't matter. You're on a different show, so quit giving me that.
Finish. If you shut up and let me finish,
I'll shut up. Go ahead. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Franchise. What is there you expect? Like I've had guys on there. We talked about this a lot of times. Yes, that they do put guys up, but they're a terrible franchise. They don't want to pay their stars. What do you mean? Why is it a big surprise? They don't want to pay the alumni to come in for the Ring of Honor event. It's not a surprise. It's a terrible organization from top to bottom.
Okay, no problem. I shut up. You got your word. That's okay. You had to stick it to me because I put you in your place a few minutes ago here because I tell you how many damn flex boxes and locker rooms you've been in. You were forced to neutralize those 1-1 tonight. Okay, go ahead, Tommy.
Hey, Mike Brown, the son of Paul Brown, was born on third base and thinks he hit a triple. He hasn't changed his stripes. The Bengals, the only thing that saved them is they've had a couple of great coaches, Forrest Gregg, and who was the coach when Boomer's Esiason was playing?
Sam Weiss.
Yeah,
right?
Sam Weiss. They've had a couple of great coaches. Otherwise, think how bad that franchise, their image would be. Look, the Bidwell family was also known for being very cheap when the dad was alive, and once he passed on, his son has done a better job of giving the Cardinals credibility. And you could probably say the same thing about the Irsay family. Bob Irsay, when he was in Baltimore, he was a joke. His son did a better job, although he had his own problems. And now the daughters are there to maybe even take the franchise to another level.
All right, Candy.
It's sad when you think about a franchise is honoring players that played for them, that had amazing careers for them. And yet, in order to honor them, it's just an invitation to a ceremony. Like, they're not going to pay more. They're not going to pay. I just think it's sad. It shows, it's indicative of how poor the organization is run, that you would do that to players that elevated your team and played for your team, and you're honoring them. Just sad.
All right, we have one more topic after the athletes talk about it, and that'll be the trade deadline. Mel, what are your thoughts real quickly on this?
That's just unbelievable, to be honest with you. I mean, this is really hard to believe. You're going to honor me, but yet you're going to honor me for what I did for you on the field, but I got to pay my own way to get there. I don't even know how to wrap my head around that.
You and everybody else. Go ahead, Marvin.
This is classless. It's cheap. It shows a lack of leadership and awareness. And, I understand now why my former teammate Carson Palmer was trying to get out of there.
Great point. Ben?
I mean, there's embarrassing. There's the Cincinnati Bengals, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I went to UF. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just switch the letters. That's how I feel.
Okay, no problem. Let's go out to the trade deadline news. We're going to make it quick. The Dolphins deal edge rusher Jalen Phillips to the Eagles for 2026 third-round pick. Good trade for Philadelphia, yes or no, Steven?
Absolutely, especially when you get Miami to eat more than $5 million of it. You only have to pay Jaden Phillips $1.5 million. The only thing we have to worry about is if you actually keep him and lose that third round pick and not retain the player long term. That's the only question about that. Howie Roseman did a great job. You got yourself an outside cornerback. You got yourself a slot corner who could also play safety. Wow. You got yourself an edge rusher, and you also brought Brandon Graham out of retirement. You're also getting Nolan Smith back this week as well. They are pushed in, ready to potentially make a run at the NFC and another potential Super Bowl run.
Okay, so good. We'll just have the add-on to that because that would have been the final thing here. Obviously, Roseman did a good job. Busy ahead of the trade deadline. He gets Phillips, he gets Jair Alexander, and of course he gets Michael Carter II. Now they're plus 800 for the Super Bowl. So I guess that's a pretty good week's worth of work. What you say, Steven, since you are in Philadelphia?
It's a great bye week. It's a great bye week. We did nothing, and we got the number one seed. Thank you, Green Bay. Thank you, Detroit.
All right. Now I'll tell you to put a lid on it. Good stuff, though. I like it. It works both. Yeah. Okay, we only have a few minutes left of the show. Otherwise, I'll lose whatever's left of my hair. Tommy, what are your thoughts about Jalen Phillips? And then we'll go over the last few transactions of the night. And then I'll definitely be able to take a breath when this is over with. Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, we don't really think about the NFL for trades. So it was kind of interesting to see the number of trades made, especially like the Eagles. Some of the NFL trades were kind of like baseball trades with their deadline, where a baseball team's always looking for that reliever or one other player they need. So usually when you see NFL trades, there's some kind of scandal or contract dispute involved.
Candy?
Obviously, there were the sellers and the buyers, and that's what you had in this today. That's what I saw.
Okay, Mel?
No, the NFL trade deadline, it used to be nothing. I mean, and then at one point, then at some particular time, they decided that they wanted to make the NFL trade deadline meaningful. And I think they moved it back a couple weeks or something like that to make it have more meaning. I can't remember exactly what it was that they did. But at one time, the NFL trade, I mean, people didn't even know it came and went because nothing would happen. You wouldn't do anything in the middle of the year with your team. It wasn't like baseball. It wasn't like a big thing with baseball and basketball, but baseball in particular, because there's so many moving pieces. I mean, there are two players right now for the Dallas Cowboys really. What is that going to really fix their problem on the defense? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
let's focus on the task at hand. Jalen Phillips obviously going to the Eagles. You like the move or not? I have a few more.
I like the move. I mean, he's a kid from UCLA, so I mean, I guess
that's okay. Marvin, go ahead.
Can't hear you, Marvin.
Howie Roseman is one of the best in the business. Everything he's doing is just pushing that program forward. I like it for them. I would trust his judgment.
Okay, Ben.
Of course, it's a great move. I mean, Nolan Smith coming off an injury. Jalen Phillips on a rookie deal. Jordan Davis on a rookie deal. Jalen Carter on a rookie deal. Azeez Ojulari, got a 1-year deal. You talk about you bringing over Jair Alexander, from the Ravens. They get Carter in the slot. Of course. Good teams make good decisions. That's why they win. And bad teams, I'll let y'all fill in the blank.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill in a few more. I'm going to go over a couple deals real quick. Dallas receives Quinton Williams from the New York Jets for defensive tackle. Mozzie Smith, a 2026 second round pick and a 2027 first round pick. Jacoby Myers of the Raiders is headed to Jacksonville for 2026 fourth and sixth round pick. Obviously, need to fill the void of Travis Hunter. And obviously, Indianapolis receives Sauce Gardner from the New York Jets in exchange for Adonai Mitchell, 2 first round picks. Sauce Gardner's timeline, July 2025. The Jets make him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL with a 4-year, $120.4 million deal, $30.1 million per season. And of course, in 2025 in November, he's with the Colts 7-2, the Jets 1-7. I'll give everybody 30 or 40 seconds to comment on this series of moves. Steven, how do you like what you saw from all these teams overall?
I'm gonna agree with Mel here. The Giants did not do enough to save the humongous crack that is their defense. Great picking up arguably the best defensive tackle in football. They have some picks there that they could play with to do that. Definitely like Jacoby Myers going down there to Jacksonville, giving Trevor Lawrence some more options. Obviously, Jacksonville is trying to make sure they hold on to that 7th spot right there. Other than that, the Jets are absolutely reloading to rebuild that franchise.
All right, Tommy, what are your thoughts about those series of moves?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about those recent moves, but other than to say that teams are being aggressive to improve before the season is over, and that also that I hope anything trades the Cowboys are involved backfire on them.
Oh, there you go. I like the spirit. Okay, Candy.
Like I said before, I mean, you had your buyers and your sellers, your people that wanted to get improvement by whatever means they could. And, like for the Jets, they needed to reload. Like their season is lost. They might as well sell off what they can and get the most that they can while they still can for the players that they did.
I'll just say one thing. Indianapolis makes out like a bandit to get an impact player like Sauce Gardner. I mean, yes, it cost him a couple first round picks, but this kid's he looks pretty good. Okay, Mel.
Yeah, like Candy said, I mean, you look at what the Jets did. I mean, you see they're just going to retool. Hopefully, Aaron Glenn gets to hang around there and gets an opportunity to see this thing through. Because heck, you look at Dan Campbell. His first year wasn't very pretty, but right now you wouldn't rather have any other guy coaching the Detroit Lions. So I hope he gets an opportunity to see this thing through. Obviously, the Jets going to be in the market for a quarterback. They got multiple first round picks to be able to get a quarterback. I don't know if there's one out there that's worthy of a first overall pick because they're also in the hunt for that as well. But we'll see.
Marvin.
Yeah, listen, the Jets at one point, in the last couple of years, they've had a great defense, so much potential. They drafted correctly, and it just breaks my heart that we couldn't use those draft picks that turned out to be good players, and turn that into a playoff run or something else. So now we dismantle our team, we get ready to reload for the future.
All right, Ben, you got the last word. Candy will go quick station break. We'll try to get everybody's IDs in. Go ahead, Ben.
I can appreciate the fact that Woody Johnson going to let a guy like Aaron Glenn be able to assemble his team. He understands right now that he don't have the quarterback. He understands right now that Quentin Williams is a good player, but he costs too much. I mean, you talk about a guy like Sauce Gardner, a good player, but he costs too much. You want to be able to reload, and you want to reload in the top 3 rounds. I got 3 or 4 first-round picks to deal with. That means I could get my quarterback as a rookie. I can still have different draft picks to move around in the draft. I like what they did because Aaron Glenn realized this. Dude, I don't pay you that much money to lose. I pay you that much money to help us. It ain't his money. So I respect what the Jets did because they saying, look, man, we ain't going to make it to the playoffs with a bunch of teams not. But we going to have money to play with and draft picks to play with come around. So I like what they did.
All right, Candy, put the book up real quick, and then we'll give everybody a few seconds here. Lesson from the microphone. I wrote it, people. Tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. You can get it on Amazon. Great stuff. Okay, Ben, let everybody know how to get hold of you really quickly.
At BNU84 on all social media platforms. It's always a pleasure to be on with y'all fine gentlemen and the Rolls Royce. Miss Candy's always a pleasure being on with you, man. Just listen, man, just doing my part to have fun. Hopefully you guys had as much fun as I did.
We always have a blast when you're on. Marvin, real quickly, go ahead.
Yeah, catch me on with the South Florida Tribune Tuesday nights, Wednesday mornings, and Wednesday evenings as well. Marvin on the mic, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and I'm on with Locked On at USC Mondays and Fridays.
All right, Mel, quickly.
Catch me on all social media at Melfar Jr. Follow what we have going on for the youth here in Georgia and also up in Michigan at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
All right, Tommy, go ahead, and he'll be on tomorrow night. I'll give you more time to put it out there.
Yeah, TomShanahan.report is my website. Check it out.
And